This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors. The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors. Our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs' #1 community resource. Visit excelsiorcitizen.com today.
If you'll, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. We kind of flip those two this time. Well, no, because she's got to adopt the agenda first.
So moved.
First by Troy.
Second.
Second by Rick. All those in favor? That passes 6-0. Now, if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up, we're kind of changing things up tonight, so next up is our early childhood data update.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Katie Andreessen. I am the principal of the Early Childhood Center, and I have some friends with me tonight that would like to start off our presentation. So I'm going to help bring them in.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Leo. Hey, buddy. Thank you.
Take it over there.
Right here. This one.
Better get one, Trey. You're gonna miss out. Oh.
They'll come back by.
You got skipped. I know. Bullmore's gonna steal it.
Thank you. So get it. Got it. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, I'm Kennedy Lynn. I'm a ECC teacher. I work in one of our full-day Head Start programs. We have some friends that came with us today that really kind of showcase what we do. You know, Stacy and I can talk. This is my para, Stacy Breeden. She's with us all day. Fantastic. We could talk all day about the things that we do in our classroom, but listening to them and hearing from them is probably the most helpful. So they're going to tell you something that they are an expert at in our classroom. And then Katie has a bunch of data, and we have some stuff that they've done to showcase that. So this is Leo Tanner. He is going to kindergarten. So he is one of our older kiddos. He was with us last year. Do you want to use the microphone? No. Leo, what are you an expert at in the classroom? Writing letters.
Very good.
You guys didn't hear that one? This is Finley Page. Finley, what are you an expert at? Finley's an expert at our Feeling Buddies, so the conscious discipline curriculum that we use. She holds that with her, takes that to other friends, all the social emotional stuff. This is James Jackson. James, what are you an expert at? Do you want to use the microphone? What are you an expert at? Do you remember? What have you been growing? James has been growing an avocado since about December. In our classroom, we did some research on how to do that because it doesn't just start in dirt, if anybody didn't know that. He made a calendar independently and he tracks what it looks like on different days and draws different pictures. You just planted it in dirt, right? It's in dirt now? Okay, yeah, he waters it. He takes care of that independently. they check it out often in the classrooms, but it is growing. Isabella, what is something you're an expert at?
Isabella is an expert at art. She is always making things. She made a purse the other day. It had a strap. She put her stuff in it. She was carrying stuff around. Yeah, very nice.
Very good.
So proud of you
Yeah,
guys.
We're going to let them head on out.
Okay, but you gotta talk.
I am now going to be the more boring part of the presentation. So we are asked to present you with some data. I am going to start with attendance data. This is the area that we need the most growth in. Preschool is not a required grade, and so it's really hard to get families to invest in coming every day. Our half-day programs, a lot of times families, if they have something going on the second half of the day, they're like, we're just going to keep our kid home. But we did, as well as with the elementary schools, the high school, did come up with an attendance plan, and we have been working on that this year to increase our attendance. So we're hoping that continues into the next, they don't want to go, sorry. So hopefully our attendance will come up. We also have been very, very sick this year. If you have a little one at home, you probably have experienced that. So we've had everything. We've had strep throat. We've had influenza A. We had influenza B. We had kids that had both at the same time. We had whooping cough. Who knew? We've had lice. We've just really been hit with everything this year. So hopefully we can also maybe improve as we go forward. Maybe not so many illnesses will drag us around now that we're getting farther and farther away from COVID. The second piece of data I want to show you is our enrollment. I shared this in my last board report, but as you can see, down, nope, the other way, there, go, stop. Okay, when I started in this position, we had 84 preschool students in 3 locations, and today we're all housed in 1 location, and we're up to 176 students. So we've more than doubled the amount of students who receive preschool in our town, which I think is a very big accomplishment, and I appreciate that we were able to move to the old Westview building because it allowed us to expand, and hopefully in the near future, maybe a couple of years, we'll be able to expand again. The next thing we're going to talk about is language and literacy and our cognition. So we worked really hard this year to align with our elementary schools on the data we were going to focus on. So we really looked at language and literacy as far as comprehension of age-appropriate text. And you can see that we started out at 15%. That's how our kids came, which they're coming with usually no other schooling. They walk into our door. And in March, we were up to 92%. So very big gain. And I believe now, if you'll go up to the next slide, you can see our growth in language and literacy all the way from that 15% to 89%. And I have Kennedy here to show you just a few examples of what that looks like in our building. Because you're thinking, preschoolers, do they all read? No, they don't. They don't all read. We do have some readers. So she's going to share with you a couple of examples of language and literacy.
Yeah, so kind of just want to showcase like what this looks like at the preschool level. Stacy and I this year applied for a Petco grant for our classroom, so we are currently have class family fish. It's been quite the journey. We have done a lot with that, so lots of graphing, lots of comparison, lots of reading like nonfiction books and comparing those to our own fish, so kind of that comprehension of age-appropriate text. They have to be able to understand that to then translate it into things that we do with our own fish. So just kind of what, cognitive things look like for preschoolers. So we voted, before Miss Kennedy went to the pet store, we voted on what fish we were going to buy. We did a little virtual tour of Petco and had all of that. They came up and voted, did their own tallies. Then we had kiddos who came up and said, okay, this one had 7, this one had, however many they had. We talked about, who had the most, who had the least, why that matters. Everybody might have wanted the Dalmatian Molly had to go to the other page because he won here. But lots of comparisons. So when we talk about the, cognition, the quantity, this is what it looks like in preschool. So then we had to name them. So that was a really big task for 15 preschoolers to name all of these fish. And some had to kind of start over, and so we're really, I think we got it. So this, we had a student completely led this. So he came up, he had the markers, he sat up at the easel that we use, and he said like, okay Leo, like what is your idea? And he would hand Leo the marker, and Leo would come up and write what he thought his name was going to be. You can see here, I scribed some of those so that we were able later to go back and vote. Some of them are letter-like figures. Some of them new, and it was their, well, if you don't know how to spell it, just draw a picture and make it look like it. So they were figuring this out and kind of working through those obstacles as they did it. Done a lot more with like fiction and nonfiction. So really had to get them to understand that just because fish do these silly things, and Nemo and Dory and all of that does not mean our fish are going to do that. So really trying to get them to understand that. And so we did a comparison, so things that are the same and things that are different. We took a fiction book and compared it to our fish tank. Yes, I wrote these things, but all of their ideas as we go through, Stacey and I are constantly looking at each other like, wow, they remember that, like they were able to connect that. Like always amazed at the connections that they're able to make with all of the things that we do in the classroom. So just one more example of the comprehension of age-appropriate text. They're really paying attention. They're able to translate things and extend their experiences, relate them back to the book. So all of that. Do you want to keep it? Okay,
I'm going to keep rolling. You can see also our cognition data is the same. We started at 19% and we went up to 90%. So that's a lot of growth in a little bit of time. And we're not done. So we still have a few months left of school to get hopefully up to 100%. Our next piece of data, I was having a really hard time finding some comparison data so that we could see how we were doing against somebody else. I mean, we think we're doing great, but you really got to find that person or that group. So Mark Head Start, we have 40 Head Start students in our building. As a whole, they keep data on every child that's in the region 16, which is what we're in. So on the left, you can see we are blue and they're red, where we fell at the beginning. So that's with not very much learning. And you see on this side how we are, well above where the Mark Head Start region is. So it's very exciting to see that we thought we were doing well, and we are doing pretty good. We're still going to keep going with it. Okay, next is our social emotional data. The green part of the pie graph was where we started the year, which is at 54% at the beginning. And at the middle of the year, we were all the way up to 81%. So we've taught a lot of social emotional skills in the first half of the year, and again, still teaching. The next part is collaborative climate and culture. And you can see we do lots of stuff for our staff. We're a small building, so we're able to do that fairly easily. We also have a ton of professional development. We're able to link with Mark Head Start to provide a lot of quality professional development to our staff. This is our first year with committees, so the buildings have all had building leadership teams. We have not had one till this year. It's been had a huge impact on the progress of our school to be able to have teams and the teachers take the lead on what's happening. I had to do a second slide for our parents. Parent engagement. We're very proud to tell you that throughout this school year, if everything goes according to plan, we will have had 25 family engagement events at the ECC. And only a couple of those were specific to Head Start because we try to offer to all. So I feel like that's a really great number that we really connect with our families. We see ourselves as the first step in a child's education, and we want to prepare them to go on to kindergarten. And so we're really trying to get parents in, get some trusting relationships, and show them what school's all about. Some upcoming events at the ECC. We do a Kicking It with Your Kids at Tiger Field. We are required by Mark Head Start to do an activity that's linked with fathers and their children. And Kicking It with Your Kids is that activity. Everybody gets to come, but we have that focus. We had it last year for the first time, and it was a really great experience. We do popsicles on the playground for our end of year event, and we invite families to come in on the playground, play with their kids, have popsicles. And then we will have a summer mass screening looking for next year's students in July. Just a few other things, and then I'll be done. I do a few things besides just be the principal of the Early Childhood Center. We also, as I mentioned earlier, work with Head Start. So this year we were fully funded, and if you would look across the region at the numbers, not very many places are fully funded. Most of that has to do with teaching staff. They can't find teaching staff. I have a full staff, so I've been very fortunate. We also have our teachers in the Head Start do a whole nother observation that I don't even do. It's called class. So they're going through that right now, and it's pretty in-depth. As far as human resources, there's lots of paperwork that's done for that, and we have all of it done except for first aid CPR, which we're working on. And education, we have an ed coach for our Head Start teachers, and that's really helpful. She does observations, she meets with them weekly, and she does in-depth data coaching. We're all up to date with our health requirements. We have very rigid health requirements, and we're there, and we've had the medical and dental unit, big RVs at our building multiple times this year to try to meet the needs of our students. And we've been waiting for 3 years to have a clinic, and it is in motion. So there's walls there now. This year we did 3 audits. We did a fall health audit, a spring health audit, and a CACFP audit. And again, we did multiple family engagement. As far as the clinic goes, currently there's been $444,000 raised to go with the clinic. Right now the walls are going up. Phase 1 should be done by the end of May, going into June. Then we're going to find that additional funding to get the actual medical equipment. But like Delta Dental has already donated some dental equipment to go into the space. In July we should end phase 2, and then the goal is to open the clinic when school starts next year. So hopefully we'll get more information on that. It will have medical, dental, optometry, and mental health. And we partner with Mark Head Start, SWOPE, and an app called Come On Now. I also lead PAT, and so we've been very successful this year with our Friday play dates. It's got a big recruitment tool for us to have families in on Friday with their students. This year, our PAT has served 33 kids and has had 152 home visits. Last year, she served 19 and had 95 home visits. So we have a drastic increase with our PAT. Last year for screenings, we had a total of 112 screenings this year, and last year we only had 74 at this time. So again, we're increasing our PAT program, and that meets her goals for her PDP, which were to be in 10 to 12 homes per month, and to get that recruitment up so we have more. Also in charge of Rocket Tiger Club, I'm wrapping it up, don't worry. So Rocket Tiger Club moved to the ECC this year. We've been able to add online payments through RevTrack, and we introduced QuickBooks as a financial tool to help track payments. We haven't had a director this year, so Alicia Dale, our program coordinator, has stepped up into most of the jobs that a director would do, and we were able to move our state aid payments to direct deposit, and so that's gone really well as well. I am finished. Do you have any questions for me?
Great work.
Can you go back to the beginning?
Yes. Where would you like for me to start?
I may have just bring the kids back.
Okay. They're the best part anyway.
Yep.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll have questions later. All right, now moving on to adoption of the consent agenda. Please see C8, where we are going to approve the meritorious general municipal election results. Thank you to the public, to everyone that got out and voted for a new Lewis. It passed overwhelmingly. I believe it was 71 to 29-ish% in favor of, so very good. Thank you very much. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
First by Rick, second by Troy. All those in favor? And that passes 6-0. Moving on to recognition, Skills USA. Mr. Ruby.
This is always the exciting part.
I have some other experts to announce everyone too, so just a little bit bigger, still just as adorable. A couple of weeks ago, our kids, we had over 30 go down to Lynn, Missouri to compete in our Skills USA state competition. I'm going to introduce our sponsors. They're going to do a good job of bragging on the kids. I'm going to do a little job of bragging on them. So I think this Sherry Ballinger, Ed Goldsmith, and Justin McBee are our Skills USA sponsors. This year we took more kids to the state than I think we have since before COVID.
Right.
Many years. So over 30 kids went and competed. And then one thing before they get started, I want to keep in mind, there are no classifications at Skills USA State. It's everybody against everybody. So if you're a kid from Excelsior, you're competing against kids from everywhere, or a kid from Lawson, or a kid from Lathrop, or a kid from Polo. It doesn't matter where you're from, you're competing against everybody. So, and with that, I will turn it over to the sponsors and let them do some bragging.
Well, good evening. My name is Ed Goldsmith. Yeah, we had a great time at Skills USA this year. We, since COVID, been working hard to get the kids back involved and at the state level, district level, and local level. So, as it turned out this year, we had 3 times as many competing this year as we did last year. So, it's been a really good journey to see these kids get involved. And for Skills USA, it's our skills, career and technical skills organization that kids get a chance to go compete in their trade areas as well as professional development types of contests. So really proud of them all. Of all of them we took down, we almost half of them medaled in some form or another, which we're extremely proud of. I think that ratio, it's been a long time since we've had that much success, and it was really neat to be down there hearing Excelsior Springs Area Career Center announced amongst probably 2,000 contestants down there. So really proud of that, really proud of the students. They're the ones that deserve all the accolades here. And I know Mr. McBee, Justin, and I, we had a great, as well as Mr. or Miss Ballinger. The kids were very well behaved, probably the best group we've had down there in a long time. So extremely proud of them. We do have, I've got the names of all of the medalists, and we do have 3 medalists here. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, you might as well, and what contest you were in. That's probably a good way to start here. So, yeah.
I'm Caleb Schumann.
I'm Maxwell Williams.
And we're in the robotics program. We built a robot from scratch and followed the guidelines and compete against quite a few other schools.
Yeah, we had 9 other teams that we went up against. It was an urban search and rescue, and the whole point of it was to go around a course and pick up these, what they called them bombs, but they were ordinances that you get out of mailboxes. But I was driving the robot, like behind a piece of cardboard, and he was guiding me through it blind. It was pretty fun.
Cool. We got 2nd place in that.
My name is Ariel Pilger, and I hit the thing. I competed in Skills USA Knowledge Tech Info, which is a bunch of questions about Skills USA, its framework, its mission statement, that kind of stuff. I got first. I also competed in Teamworks. We didn't place in that, but I could explain it just so you kind of get a grasp of the different types of competitions. Teamworks was the hardest thing, oh my gosh, because I did residential wiring last year, and it was a Teamworks competition, so we had to find time to actually meet up like after school and such so that we could actually practice as a team. And what it is you basically you make up walls out of 2x4s and 2x6s, and then you frame them and you put them all up. We did 4 walls this year. Previous years it's been 3, and then like an overhead board. And this year we also had rafters, and we had a masonry section where you do bricks around a corner, which we don't have a masonry class, so that was something new. And then you also wired a 3-way switch into the building, and we also had to install a sink. So that was me.
Quite a few medalists. Third place, we had Ryan Mapes in the building repair and maintenance, Isaiah Manis in sheet metal, and Mason Duncan in residential wiring tech info. Second place medalist was Nolan Worley from in electrical construction wiring. Robert Fisher, an emergency medical technician, along with Madeline Snyder in that one. Robotics was Maxwell and Caleb. First place was Camden Dickey in fire, Skylar Arner in cybersecurity, Ariel with the Skills USA knowledge, and Madeline Snyder in emergency medical tech info. Camden, Skylar, and Jacob will be going to nationals in June, so looking forward to that to see how they do. So really good group. Glad to take them all.
At this time, if you have any questions.
I think she's inferring you need a masonry division
I know, that's
and
right.
plumbing.
That's what she was.
So she didn't explain, like, they had what, 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours? 6 hours from you just pick up supplies and start building. It was pretty impressive to see how far they got done.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Even more impressive.
Yeah. It was pretty impressive.
Ariel was our mason woman. She did a really good job. She really did. We got pictures and all, but yeah, she did a great job. They all did.
I actually wasn't supposed to be. And in the middle of the competition, I was like, okay, someone has to do it.
That's the neat thing about
One of
teamwork.
us, you know, it's great.
Four individuals trying to accomplish that task, and that's one of my favorite contests, to watch how they deal with all the ups and downs of the contest. So it's really good time. So good job, guys.
Great job, guys.
Great job.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Grime with speech and debate state and national qualifiers.
All right. Thank you for your time again to recognize some of our activity students. Tonight, I'm going to introduce one of our sponsors, Coach Allison Newman. We have 3 speech and debate headed back to sponsors: Jeff Haney, Allison Newman, and Julie Nelson. And we have actually 1 state qualifier and 4 national qualifiers. And I'm going to let Ms. Newman kind of speak on behalf. The national qualifiers will go to Louisville in May, at the end of May, 27th and 8th. State contest.
She's like, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's everything I was going to say. So, okay, so like you said, I'm Allison Newman. I'm one of the assistant coaches. Jeff Haney is the head coach and works with these kids every single day. He is with it's Tech Week for the play, so you guys should go see the play on Friday and Saturday. So these 3, and then Jason Brashear could not make it tonight, but they all qualified for the National Speech and Debate Tournament, which is in Louisville, Kentucky. It is Memorial Day weekend. So this is Kyra Davidson. She's a senior. This is Audrey Ishmael. She is a sophomore. And this is Anna Selby. She is a senior. Audrey Ishmael is also going to compete this coming weekend at state. She got first at districts, and just like Mr. Ruby was saying, speech and debate, you compete against everybody. There are no classifications. So it was really awesome to go to districts and hear Excelsior Springs be said for first place, and everybody had to stand up for her. So that was really cool. So, these kids have been working so incredibly hard, some of them for 4 years. So we are just very proud of the hard work and the effort that put behind this, and they get to go have fun weekend in Louisville and show the nation what they can do.
All right. Next up is our classified employee recognition. Dr. Bullymore.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to share the Classified Employee of the Month recognition. So the school district would like to recognize Elwood Andrews, or Mr. Owl, for his dedication to the staff and students of Elkhorn Elementary School. Mr. Owl was actually nominated by Dr. Shelton and most of the Elkhorn staff, actually. So I'm not going to read both pages of the comments, but one that I thought particularly stood out. Mr. Owl is fearless. We all know what the floor of an elementary school looks like after snack time. We can only imagine what the inside of restrooms look like on a good day. He goes above and beyond his description every day. He quietly watches over students in the hallways, making sure nothing seems out of place. He always greets students and staff with a hello. He's always willing to lend a helping hand, and most importantly, he genuinely cares for our students. And you can see there, when the students and teachers noticed I was there to recognize Mr. Al, they came running down the hallway. So he really is a valued member of that building, and they love him there. Classified Employee of the Month Award is proudly sponsored by our friends at the Excelsior Springs Hospital. Congratulations, Mr. Al.
All right, congratulations to all of the above. Next up is the April board report for MSBA. Mr. McCown.
Watch a fun little video here.
Welcome to the April edition of the Missouri School Boards Association Board Report. We begin with a look back at MSBA's Advocacy Day event held on March 28th in Jefferson City. Preparations for the event took place throughout the month of March. MSBA's spring virtual meeting and a series of lunch and learn webinars on a variety of topics prepared school board members for their meetings with legislators and provided information on several legislative issues now before the Missouri General Assembly as it heads for its May adjournment. Senator Carla Esslinger spoke during the Advocacy Day event in the Rotunda of the Capitol and emphasized the important role of school board members in the legislative process.
That your service and your dedication to your community and your children is what makes this work. Because without a school board that reflects the community values and the school reflecting that back to the community, this whole democracy thing doesn't work. Okay? And you have to have the opportunity at the local level to control what is good for your children.
Also during the event, the Carter D. Ward Excellence in Advocacy Award was presented to Keisha Lee of the Ladue School District Board of Education. This award is given annually to a past or present school board member who excels or has excelled in advocating for public education. Keisha stressed the importance of collaboration when dealing with the issues facing public education.
The problems facing us are multifaceted, but not impossible. While the challenges in rural, urban, and suburban areas across the state look different, on the surface, many of our problems are very much the same. We must start to work together by looking in your neighbor's backyard and across the street for resources and collaboration.
Advocacy Day also included a student showcase at the Capitol where students from 20 school districts throughout the state were on hand to discuss and demonstrate innovative programs in their districts. Missouri's First Lady Teresa Parson visited the showcase and saw firsthand the amazing students and programs from across the state.
Our students are the next generation of leaders. So when our young people are set up to succeed, I believe that our communities and our state definitely will benefit from them. Today we're excited to have the students, each of these students here, with us to display their showcases and to share here in Jefferson City. So after visiting these outstanding programs in our schools, you will know that our students and our state have a bright future ahead.
The deadline is approaching fast to sign up for your district's free Emergency Operations Plan Development Tool. MSBA, in partnership with the Department of Public Safety, is offering a subscription to the Missouri EOP Development Tool at no cost for 2 years, but you must be signed up by June 1st of this year. There's no time element for completing the Emergency Operations Plan. The only time element is for participation. So please sign up now and take advantage of this crucial school safety resource. Visit the MSBA website for more information. Make plans now to attend MSBA's Summer Summit June 16th and 17th in Branson. Join school board members and leaders from across Missouri to learn about emerging trends and hot topics in education. It's a great opportunity to participate in valuable sessions and to connect with colleagues from school districts throughout the state. Also, be sure your board is represented at the June Delegate Assembly to be held in conjunction with the Summer Summit. Delegates will be electing officers for the coming year at that meeting. And last but certainly not least, if you were elected to your school board for the first time this month, Welcome to school board service. Missouri law requires all school board members to receive 18.5 hours of training within their first 12 months of service. MSBA's CBM Essential Board Member Training fulfills this requirement and provides the foundation for becoming an effective school board member. The training is free for all new school board members. Check the MSBA website for a schedule of the training opportunities along with registration information. So with that, thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in May for the next MSBA board report.
Anything further, Darren?
Nope, just a reminder about what he was talking about, the summer summit, and it's also our first our delegate in the summertime for June 16th and 17th. It's down in Branson.
All right. Any visitors, Lisa? No. No visitors. Moving on to the cabinet report. First up is Dr. Bullimore.
If it pleases the board, just want to give updates on operations around the district. We'll start with transportation. So over spring break, the transportation department worked really hard on problem solving driver shortage, obviously. So what we did over spring break, we reduced a route, bus 10. We actually merged into some of the other routes, and so they worked hard over break trying to learn those new routes. It has resulted in less daily changes, which I think the buildings are feeling a little bit, but we're still having an issue with overall driver shortage. A big part of that is just overall pay. So right now we're paying about $2 less an hour along the scale than districts around us, including smaller districts. And some of them, most of that's because we went to bid sooner, right? So we bid out further along ago than they have more recently. And so what we're looking at now, I met with First Student headquarters the week before spring break and worked on discussing a contract amendment proposal that they're working on that would increase our driver pay and bring it in line with the districts around us. So in our contract right now, it's about a 4% increase per year. That's just what the contract is. That's what we agreed to. If we were to increase it to about $16, which is about $2 an hour along the scale, the financial impact of that would be about an additional $180,000. So I've worked with Dr. Tomlinson on what that financial impact would be on our budget for next year, and then also moving forward. That would just be it would be an increase from about 4%, which is in our contract, to about a 12% for that 1 year, and then would revert back to 4% on top of that for those following years. So they're working on the amendment for that proposal, which hopefully we'll bring to you. That wouldn't come into that wouldn't happen until next year, so we don't have to worry about anything for this year budgeting wise. But something that we're looking at that we'll bring to you before next year. It's something that we're going to have to do. It's either we're going to have to increase driver pay or we're not going to have drivers for our buses. I got an email late this afternoon that we're trying to find a bus driver for tomorrow morning. It's just tough to do. And we have 4 staff drivers that are already driving. We have both of the Career Center guys that you saw here driving buses. It's hard to get people to come to work when you're paying $2 less from people across the street. So it's just an impact we're going to have to take. So work with Dr. Thompson on that, and so hopefully we can make that happen. You guys can look for that proposal. I am trying to get them to throw in a couple extra things that when we went to bid and Apple Bus won it, they're a smaller company. They don't have as much technological advances. So First Student has some more of those things like bus tracking, iPads. They have an app for parents where they can see about where the bus is. So there's some things that if we were to do this, they would add on top of our contract for us as a paid for perk. But we'll bring that to you guys in the future. So that's where we're at with transportation. Safety, so Mr. Kimsey and I, our district safety and security coordinator, met with the Excelsior Springs Fire Department emergency personnel to finalize our standard operating procedure for the FEMA Safe Room. If you've seen some of that go out, if you get the district emails or some of the social media, and that's for our FEMA Safe Room at Cornerstone. So that information went out. We finalized that last week. All of the shifts from the fire department and some of the police personnel visited Cornerstone with Mr. Kimsey just to get familiar with the area where they would be parking, where anyone that needs to use the facility during a storm would meet. And then we're going to be hosting an open house tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for anyone that's interested that lives within that 1.5 mile radius, or if you just want to come learn about the storm shelter. You can come to that. Mr. Kimsey will be there. Mr. Kimsey will be hosting that. And really that's just to share about the facility, when it's open, what are the procedures, what will we have there when it comes to first aid or any of those things. So we're excited to offer that. And then that would also be something that we'd be able to hold for our Lewis community downtown when that facility is built. So that's where we're at on the FEMA Safe Room update. Missouri had a grant that we're able to apply for, so I applied for a $300,000 grant with the state for safety and security upgrades. So about 30 or 35,000 of that would be to cover the wall that we plan to add at Cornerstone anyways. So it's already built into the new Lewis plans. So we've talked about once you get, there's 2 doors to get into the building, but then once you get in the office, essentially you can get anywhere. So in the new plans for Lewis, we've added an extra security door in that office to get back to the administrator's offices. We're going to add that to Cornerstone anyway, so I've added that into the grant to pay for that. And then we've also written in about $270,000 to purchase protective film for our schools, for the glass entryways, potentially for the hallways at Cornerstone. That stuff's super expensive. I think just to cover the glass that would need to be covered at Cornerstone is about $100,000. It's really expensive. It's something that we want to do. We can't do it on our own without the grant, and so we're looking at trying to get that. We've applied for that. I don't know if we'll get it or not. The deadline was last Friday, so I think that we'll probably hear before the end of the fiscal year, but no promises because it's DESE. So we're looking forward to trying to get free money to help our schools be safer. So that's where we're at on that. Moving forward to food service, so Tiger's participation, lunch is staying steady at about 74%. Breakfast is actually up to 31%. So we recognize this as a growth opportunity for our schools. We know that students with full bellies learn better and they're more attentive in class and there's least disruptions. So we're actually up 5% to the 31, which is about 130 more kids every day eating breakfast. So we're really excited about that opportunity and those kids getting food in their bellies. Some special programs we had, they held March Madness in the school, so they had a little fun competition. We had an all-staff breakfast at PD. We're going to be hosting an all-staff breakfast again for Teacher Appreciation. So it's going to be fantastic, she promised, and Miller's told me it better be.
That's right.
So we're really excited about that. And then we will also be hosting free lunches and breakfasts for all students during the testing windows at all of our schools. So again, students learn better, they do better in class, they're more attentive when they have food in their bellies, and so that's something that we're going to do during those testing windows. We would love to do it all of the time, but cost is just an issue. So there are some representatives out there that are pushing for the universal free meals to return, and we would love that, but until then, we'll cover it when we can.
Is there any research on the improvement on literacy for students who eat during?
You know, it's funny you asked that. There is. There's some research saying students that receive regular midday meals, their English scores increase by 18% and their math scores by almost 10%. So that would be amazing if we could do that every day. So
who knew?
Yeah.
Dr. Bullimore,
Yes.
is that free breakfast and free lunch for K-12 or only the students that are in testing grades?
So it's free breakfast and lunch for that entire building during their testing window. So elementaries have the same testing window. Middle schools is a little different. High schools is a little different. So everyone in that school during that testing window will get all students. And I actually worked with Mr. Broadman today, so they're actually going to just do the breakfasts in the classroom. So, which will be great. We get more participation that way anyway. So we're really excited about being able to get all those students free meals. And we want to do it all the time. If you know anyone, give them a call.
If you know anybody.
And the last thing, career ladder. So we're in the process of recruiting building representatives for our career ladder committee. We'll meet with them at the end of March or the beginning of May and kind of immerse them and familiarize them with the career ladder plan. And then I'll work with them on getting input on how we want to push that information out to the staff. We'll build a little website that has that information about it. We're really excited to offer that opportunity to the staff. And then last thing, we passed a little thing called Proposition Lewis. So that was exciting. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
I kind of miss it being on everybody's report.
I know.
Yeah. So look, come on. Any questions? No. All right. Thank you, sir. Next up, Dr. Miller, Academic Services.
Thank you.
Just doing grosses.
Thank you. So wanted to give a quick update. I typically do this, I think it's 4 times a year I give you an update on MSIP 6 where we're at with our CSIP plan. I do want to say that we received 30 out of 30 points for our CSIP plan from DESE. So it's really good job security for me. I was really worried. That could have gone either way. So super happy about the, all right. It's the first time they've ever done this. It's the first time I've ever done this, and they bought it. So 30 out of 30 points for us. That is, just as a reminder, that's baseline data for us this year. There's nothing, like I'm not going to report, I won't be able to report like the growth on this year. MSIP 6 is in 2 rounds. And so we got to go during the first round. We're waiting on the other half of the schools basically to catch up. So at the end of next year, we'll be able to talk about growth moving forward for that. Our CSIP review team, which is also called our cabinet, will be meeting over the summer to evaluate goals and update for next year. So as you know, it's a 5-year plan. Part of a 5-year plan is that we get together and go, this is what went well and this is what didn't, and this is what we need to add or what we need to take away based on some changes. In addition to that, with our CSIP, I am really, really proud of the work that the principals have done, and they're going to be presenting their building improvement plans today. So everything is perfectly in line with our district goals in our district CSIP plan. So we've been working on this pretty much all year. I realized the work that I had to put into on the CSIP that we kind of adopted last year. So I actually told them, sit on it, hold off for a second, let me fix this first, and then you guys can bring this to the board at the end of this year. So they've done a phenomenal job, and they've let me push their thinking a lot. I know that I can be super frustrating because I have super high expectations and I like them to think, and they did an outstanding job. I'm just really proud of the work that they did. Next thing that I want to talk about is a new reading program. So with the changes in letters, all of our 3-5 teachers, or excuse me, K3 teachers are going to letters training, and then we're going to incorporate 4 through 6. What we did was we looked at our current offering that we provide for kids and what we're doing with literacy, and we realized that it doesn't align with the new science of reading stuff. So what we did was I had a literacy team, which involved 2 assistant principals and me and a couple of instructional coaches. And it's Jessica Hembury here. I think you should stand up.
Oh, yes.
You should stand up. This is one of the hardest working people in the whole district. Stand up. So this is your literacy coach in the district. She's an instructional coach that's charged with literacy. She is incredible. Like, her literacy knowledge is outstanding. So she actually led the charge with this. What was it, 8 programs that you evaluated? 5 programs that she evaluated, narrowed it down to 2. We brought those to teachers, and they actually picked one of them. So I'll be bringing that proposal to the board next month for you to look at. I will warn you, they are incredibly expensive. Hats off to Dr. Tomlinson. I went in and told him, I said, I need this reading program. And he said, I don't know that we can do that. And I said, I have to have this. And he found money for me. So it's not, I'm usually pretty flexible, but that's maybe not his interpretation. Yeah. I'm pretty flexible, but when I know that it's what a kid needs, I'm pretty adamant about it. And so he found me some money. The next thing that I want to talk about are just some upcoming things. Kindergarten screening is right around the corner. This is fantastic. Like, I love seeing them run around. It's different on the first day that they show up to kindergarten. They're not quite this happy, and they're a little bit more worried. Super excited about this, so anyone that has a kindergartner or gonna be kindergartner, make sure to let them know. They do all of our screening that aligns with DESE standards and what they require. So 3 different times available. We'd like to see the kids go to their home school, but if they can't make that date, they're welcome to go to another school. In addition to this, I didn't put it on here, but MAP and EOC is right around the corner. For most people, that starts on April 17th, I believe. So Annette is not here, but she made the cutest MAP video, like they're all getting charged up for MAP testing. She wouldn't let me show it because she said the kids had to see it first before I showed it to everybody else. But everybody's getting all psyched up and doing a really great job with that. Last thing that I want to talk about, I'm actually going to kind of put a pin in it and talk about it a little bit later. I think I told you guys that I had been working on this. This took me several months. One of the things that I feel like we're kind of lacking as a district was just actually saying what our process is and actually spelling out these are the way we do things here. So this handbook, and I'll ask for your approval here, it's in discussion. but this actually goes over every single thing that is required of a teacher or administrator, down to what an instructional coach does, to how we do curriculum cycle, to just every aspect of it. So I'll speak a little bit more of that later. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to talk about curriculum always.
Can we start over?
Yes. I love that you love talking about curriculum, Darren.
Love it.
Good job. Thank you.
All right, hearing no questions, we're skipping over student services because Dr. Gross is out this evening. So on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Tomlinson.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about Lewis. I just got some updates on timelines. I just wanted to share them. So this is the first anyone is hearing of these. I just got these this afternoon from our architect. So bid package 1. So they split out the different, a building takes a lot. It's a lot of vendors, right? A lot of suppliers, a lot of construction that goes on. So they have to go out and do bids. So the first bid is going out, and then it actually has been accepted by Newkirk Novak. We're actually going to bring that to the next month's board meeting for approval. I did get the word that it actually came in under projections, not by a lot, but by a little bit. I'll take it, right? We're projecting to have trailers at the ECC by the end of June. So maybe around the 4th of July. If we get before 4th of July, if not, it's probably the second week of July. But in that little window, we're supposed to have those delivered. There needs to be some site work out of that location so that we'll have electricity, sewage, water, all that has to be set up for those. So I'm excited that that's moving forward. Also, we've got, went ahead and commissioned a company to come out and do the asbestos abatement review. So when you take a look at a building that old, you're going to have asbestos in a lot of the flooring. Sometimes it's in pipe insulation. And anytime that you're going to disturb that, there's obviously abatement that has to occur. We're projecting that that's going to take at least 5 weeks to complete once it's started. So when you talk about construction and like, oh, when are we going to start building a building? Well, first we have to safely dispose and demolish the current building. And so there's going to be 5 weeks of asbestos abatement before we can even start with demolition on the building. So that kind of pushes things back. It's kind of good for people to understand when should you expect to see things moving forward. So also, currently projecting that September will be when the new building starts being built. So hopefully we'll have demolition completed prior to September, and then sometime in September we'll actually see the building back up process begin. So that kind of gives you a good timeline of what you can kind of expect. So I just got that information today, but I wanted to share that tonight. So moving on to the next piece there, if you take a look at our financial status, this is something I brought to each board meeting this year, and take a look at where our operational funds are. This is a cash flow analysis. And you can take a look at the red line is last year at this time, the green line is this year at this time. You can see that we are on the steady decline that happens every spring because we've already received all of our money, and now we're making payroll and paying bills, and what we're doing is we're trying to hold on for dear life to the end. You see how things drop off severely come summer school payments, right? So our goal is to try to finish up above that red line, hopefully about where that gray line is up above it. That's kind of our projection. I feel like if we've done that compared to where we started, that we're going to be much better off. You notice in the very beginning we were well below the red line. Our goal is now to finish above the red line, and we'll feel like we've been successful financially for the year, and that kind of sets things up going into next year. So, any questions about any of that? So now the fun part comes, budget development for next year, and this has been loads of fun. I really enjoy it, and I'm making some assumptions, and so I like to tell you this right up front. So I have to come up with what my assumption is going to be for our end of year balance. Depending on if that's right, wrong, high, low, it will change everything about where we finish next year. Because until I know where we start, it's hard to build a budget to say, here's where we want to end up. And I think the biggest impact of that is going to be what our reserve balances are. I project that we're going to spend down some of our reserves. We're going to have a lower reserve balance at the end of next year than we've had in quite a while. So currently, the way things sit today, if I'm correct with my assumptions, we're looking to be at about 17% reserve at the end of next year. Okay? So, biggest assumption that we're going to finish the year with $8.5 million in our bank account. That's making the assumption that we're going to give steps to every employee, both classified and certified, that we would increase our insurance contributions up to $575 a month per eligible employee. Also, we're one of the few school districts that offer dental and vision to our employees for benefits. A lot of schools make that as a optional coverage. It's something that we actually provide. Those did go up. So we saw about a 12% increase on dental, and then our vision went up about 8%. It's not as expensive, so it's like, almost like $1 a month per employee. It wasn't that bad. Career ladder, Dr. Bullimore talked about instituting career ladder next year. It's really important for us, I think, to kind of sell that to our staff, that career ladder, if you're an experienced teacher, is up to $5,000 of additional compensation you receive in addition to all of your salary and your step increase and your increased contributions towards health insurance. And all of that contributes towards your retirement money too. So it really is a significant number, but there is a cost to the district for that. So that's something that we're also putting into the budget. And then I also wanted to talk about, there's some Fund 4 expenditures that I'm going to ask for approval from tonight. And that's going to be a new weight room. We talked about building a new weight room, and I said, you know what, we're not going to be able to afford $4 million to build it. So the best option we came up with was we came in and had somebody look at all new flooring through that whole building. We're going to put all new paint in it, and then come up with a completely new, all weights, racks, equipment, everything completely brand new. It's going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that. That's also built into this. I also put some things into the budget moving for next year that will deal with some improvements to the Career Center. We're eligible for some grant money there, so we want to evaluate what opportunities we are to qualify for that grant. That's another $400,000. I don't know if we'll spend all that, Mr. Ruby, or not, but
I have faith you will.
we're working on it, right? Well, it gives us some options.
Well, we are. We can find somewhere to put it.
I don't know if you guys know us, we're pretty good at spending money. So as you see right there, our reserves dropped to about 17%. And so I just want to make sure everybody knows that all of that is based off those assumptions. If you take a look at the next page, we talk a lot about cash flow in Fund 1 and Fund 2. And if you remember, Fund 1 is really our checking account, right? Fund 1 is where we pay for almost everything out of. Fund 2 is our teacher fund. So all of our certified employees get paid out of our teacher fund. So money gets transferred into that fund, and then payroll comes and pays all our certified employees. Fund 3 is where you pay off your debt, like your bonds, like Cornerstone's being paid off through Fund 3. And then there's this Fund 4, it's capital projects, okay? So anytime you're building a building, you're adding to it, anything that's gonna be affixed to a facility, that's really gonna be like capital, right? It's not gonna be textbooks, it's not gonna be disposable, anything. So if you think of it in those terms. I wanted to highlight this just so you can kind of get an idea for the kind of money that gets spent on a given year and kind of what we're trying to work with on making sure we're fiscally responsible here. So the working budget that was adopted this year was $5.7 million. Okay? Year to date, we've spent $4.3 million. Okay? So we've been pretty tight on what we've been doing. We've said no to a few things. We've backed off on a few things. So you're saying, oh my gosh, that's great. You have saved the district $1.4 million. What can we go spend that on? That's the first thing everyone wants to know. Well, great. I want to spend that. That's what Miller's like. Can I spend it? So that's our expenditures, right? But there's more to it than that, right? You also have to take a look at the revenues that you receive of what you budget versus what comes in. So on our revenue side, our adopted budget was $3.3 million was going to come in revenues. And what's actually come in so far is 1.5. That is $1.8 million shy of what the working budget was. You see the math here? I'm actually $400,000 behind what the budget was projecting we would be rut on this compared to where we wanted to be. And I just wanted to highlight this to give you a good example of what things, a lot of people will say, oh, we didn't spend that, can we spend it over here? No, we don't have it because we didn't get the revenues we wanted to. And that's what we're trying to work through. I still am going to build into this. I think the $400,000 for the Career Center and the $400,000 for the weight room, those are one-time expenditures. They're not ongoing here on out. We have the money in there and available to do it. I still think that's going to be the right thing to do. But it kind of gives you a good idea. Part of the reason some of these things have declined, ESSER, we don't receive the ESSER money like we did before. A lot of the COVID and the federal money has kind of dried up. We've kind of gone through and expended most of those. We still see a little trickling of that here and there, but for the most part, the lion's share of that has been received. So, any questions about Fund 4 or what we're working through and what those things look like?
Why didn't the bond sale money come through?
Well, if you look right there, I highlighted those two. The Elkhorn Safe Room reimbursement of $256,000. We actually received that last year, so we're not going to receive it 2 years in a row.
And so we shouldn't have bond sales this year.
Right.
Correct.
Say, what in the world?
There are no bond sales this
Right.
year. That's another $1.2 million, hence why we're short.
That's a big one.
Right. So that's why I highlighted those, but that's what we're working on, but obviously we recognize it, and so then we make adjustments, right? Hey, we're not getting the money coming in, so guess what? We're not going to spend as much money.
Can you go up to the expense page? The safe room, is that the second line item? Is that Elkhorn lease purchase?
Yes.
Is that paid off now that we got?
That's all paid off, isn't it?
It's all
Yeah.
gone. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Or were you done with those?
I was done with those, but I can talk about them. I feel
Anybody
like
else
I'm
have any
staring at these
questions on those? All right.
Attendance. So attendance, we talked a little bit about, trying to focus on. This is really a big focus of mine. To me, this is the pinnacle of. You cannot have school improvement until you improve your attendance. We can't teach kids; they can't learn if they're not here, right? So this is a big emphasis for us, and we're going to continue to report on it. As I mentioned before, it's actually going to be a category of responsibility for Dr. Bullimore next year. He's going to have attendance as one of his responsibilities.
Truant officer.
Yes.
Bullimore.
Yes. We're going to send the bully. Yes. So, but you can take a look at it. If you talk about, these aren't 90-90 numbers, this is just strict attendance, but if you're talking about 92% attendance at a high school, like that's really good.
Yes.
You don't see most high schools in there, at least in my experience. It's very common to see elementaries with higher percentages like that, but even the middle school up at 90% is good, and the early childhood center, even with some of what they've dealt with this year, their overall general attendance has been where we like it. But those are always going to be where we're trying to improve, and we're always going to be striving. So
Is the district average then is just over 90% roughly?
it's just under a little bit actually, yeah. But it's right in there. It's really difficult too because everybody in the state looks at the 90-90, and so that drops a lot. Our 90-90 is not very good.
Not very 90.
It's not very 90. Not very 90. And what that means is it's really more of a systemic issue for our community because it means that we don't have, if you have a student, let's say, who comes up with an illness and they're gone for a couple weeks and they're back, kid, not a big deal. But if you have all of your students missing blocks of time, that's where your 90-90 falls, and that's where we struggle. We struggle having the higher number of kids that are just here all the time. So all of our kids miss time, and so that's one of the things we try to work on. And then I left this in. Sometimes I like leaving things in for a couple months just because they're kind of fun. The last day of school is still projected to be Friday, May 19th. It will be a standard early out day. Elementary at 12:45, secondary at 11:30. And any questions about what's coming up? There's testing that's going to be the big thing coming up. And then we're going to be getting ready to move things out of Lewis and then get started with the abatement and then the demolishment, get everybody moved over. Trailers coming, getting everything set up. It's going to be a busy, busy year for Jill Comstock.
What about graduation and baccalaureate and all those?
We're gonna do that this year.
Yes, we are having graduation.
We're going to have one this year.
But dates, like dates for that.
The dates are the weekend of the 13th, so that Friday night, and Dr. Everett's here, so she can correct me if I'm mistaken on any of these, but it's Friday night the 13th at 12.
Friday the 13th.
Or 12.
So
Okay.
if you look that week, seniors' last day is Tuesday the 9th. So that's the day that during the school day they'll do their capping down walks in the elementary schools. So we're bringing that back this year. And then graduation rehearsal is Thursday the 11th. That is also when we do the senior luncheon, and that is the night of the senior awards ceremony. So that's at 7 p.m. in our Performing Arts Center. And then graduation is Friday night the 12th, 7 p.m. And we've gone back to the traditional in the gym. So we're not having to do that. Is the weather going to hold kind of So that'll be 7 p.m. in our gym Friday.
So all of you should plan to be there about 6:30. Kind of get ready for.
And if you haven't already purchased your parking pass, please see me after the meeting tonight, and I will.
He accepts Venmo.
Yeah, no, cash.
Yeah,
It's a cash issue.
Can you add it to my tab?
Yeah, I'll add it to your tab.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Any questions? All right. Moving on to discussion items. Approval of Curriculum Instruction Assessment Handbook. Dr. Miller.
Yes. Guys, can you get the link that's up to, because I did want to show them one page. So if you go back to my PowerPoint, in the last page, there's a link that you can bring up.
G2.
Can't go back. You only go forward.
There you go. Yep.
Oh, hyperlink.
Perfect.
She's so fancy.
I know.
What? Hey, it's worst case scenario, girl. Like, I know that it's there. Wanted to, again, kind of go over a little bit about this. This is a super complex thing. I know that I just talked about a reading program, but when you think about all of the things that go into a reading program, I wrote down all of them. You've got background knowledge and vocabulary and language and writing and spelling and all of the things that go into that and decoding, and Jessica Hembury can go on and on about this stuff if you let her. In math, we've got number sense and our basic math program. And as you guys know, I think Mr. Ruby last year, whenever I think it was my first year, and he said, I just would really enjoy a social studies textbook that didn't have Barack Obama as a senator. And I was like, I'm gonna make that happen for you. But the point is that we don't have a systematic way to look at our curriculum, and that's really the very basics of how you run a school, is getting that in line. So got this handbook together, and it literally includes everything. It's a wonderful read if you guys want to sit down sometime over wine or whatever you need to do to really read through it. It's outstanding.
Book club.
Yes, book club. I love that. So we actually went over our grading philosophy. I think I told you guys, what was the year? I think it was 2008. 2008, since we had an updated grading philosophy, it was not in line with anything that we currently do in any way. So did a lot of work with the administrators just to get everything lined up. So wanted to bring you to page 9 of this. So we're going to be on a curriculum cycle so that we aren't in a position where we have one of our administrators asking for a textbook because it was outdated 10 years before. So we have a basic curriculum cycle, and I did want to point out that this whole handbook, I'm going to update it every year. I'll update names of instructional coaches, and I'll update just some basic things like your assessment calendars. Those will change from year to year. But other than that, this thing is going to be how we do business here through the school year of 2030-2031. So, which is incidentally my last year, or the first year I can retire. I'll probably stick around longer. But wanted to point out that this is a long-term plan, and it's what we need to make sure that we're financially. I don't have to go to Dr. Tomlinson with any surprises and say this is so outdated that we're not doing this. That being said, there's a system now in place where teachers are evaluating and being a part of the curriculum cycle. Before, it was very reactive. Like when something was a disaster, they would say, can you please find us some time so that we can fix this, instead of being very proactive with our approach. So wanted to share this with you guys. It literally has everything laid out to how you discipline a kid who cheats on a MAP test. It's got everything spelled out in there. Again, I look forward to you guys reading about it and then calling me with questions. So if there aren't any questions, I am looking for an approval on the curriculum and instruction handbook from now till forever.
So moved.
Yeah, do you have questions, Troy?
I have a question.
I love questions.
I guess more of it's more of a revelatory experience. Are you telling me that we were not on a regular so many year replacement cycle for textbooks before now?
So what I'm telling you is that there has been so much turnover in my position that no, I can't remember ever being on a curriculum cycle in the 17 years I've been here. Wow. So I take that back. I think my first year when Cheryl Hogan was here, I remember writing curriculum with her 1 year and then it never happened again. So correct me if I'm wrong, people that have also been here with me, but no, that is correct.
So no textbook replacement, that was all just whenever
It's so reactive, and so that's what I'm saying is one of the things that this was such hard work, but I don't have to do this ever again. Like, it's literally spelled out how we're going to do this moving forward. And I know I keep like saying there are systems that have not been in place for years, but there are systems that have not been in place for years that are the basic foundational component to how you run a school. So now we get to have, I mean, if you think about it, we didn't have a curriculum until last year. So it's hard to look at assessments and make adjustments to your curriculum when you don't have one. So the MAP test was always just a giant shock every time we got in, and we didn't make any changes because we didn't have an existing curriculum. So, I mean, I know everyone has tried their best, and I mean, and everybody does what they can, but I think honestly the turnover, you have to have somebody with the vision to look forward and who's going to be here for a while to make a systemic change in your school district.
So it's just something would go bad, and then it was like, oh, we're so far behind that we would just massively come out of left field.
It just was never a plan, and if I'm being honest, I don't know that curriculum was ever like had the priority that it does now. If I'm being honest, we've gone through. We have amazing facilities, and we have an amazing school board, and we have all of the things in place. But it's time we start looking inside our school walls and making those changes to impact kids. And so that's what I'm advocating for. That's what I fight for every day, is to make sure that we're getting the funding that we need. And Dr. Tom, again, has been outstanding. He shares the vision, and when I go to him and say I have to have this, I get it. But right now we are, I've had to be reactive. Like social studies is on cycle again, but I had to buy a textbook, even though reading was on. I mean, it's literally just trying to catch up to get to a point where we can spend money at the time when it's needed to get directly to students. The reading program that we have is going to impact K-8, so I'm really excited about that. We have in the past written our own curriculum in reading, and we had great curriculum that was written, but the reality was it wasn't moving the needle. Like it wasn't, our kids weren't better readers because of it, so you have to change, and so that's what we did. My team of people, the instructional coaches and the administrators, I push them instructionally every single day, and they meet the challenge every single day. We are righting the ship. Like it's turning around, and we'll start to see that moving forward.
I do have a question for you, though. Hopefully saves you some time and trouble, because this is a ton of work. I can't even imagine. But we know we're famous for switching our Standards Act. We did revision of that. So is this a document where you can go in if Missouri decides to, you know, update their standards like we do? We all know that. Can you go in and revise it easily, or will this make it at least somewhat easier for you to do that? Because
I
even
love
looking
that at you have
standards is hard.
So we are doing continuous work about unpacking a standard and repacking a standard. As a district, we just haven't had any training on that. And so providing PD for the state sets our standards, and the MAP and the EOC test are aligned to those standards, and we are at the mercy of those standards. But right now, like I said, I took the instructional coaches and moved them from a building role into a more district role. So I have district experts on certain things. Christy Harris is my curriculum coach, and we have a process in place now where if you see a standard that isn't aligned or you see an issue with the curriculum, she adjusts it in real time instead of waiting until over the summer. Because before we had to schedule in 2 weeks to fix things, we do it in real time now to meet the needs of our kids. So this isn't so much about standards, because like I said, we're at the mercy of them, but the process is in place in here. It's outlined exactly what you're supposed to do.
It'll be helpful for like brand new teachers too to
Yes.
have a resource. I mean, it'd be overwhelming to read all of that, but at least if they had a question about
It would be a joy to read all of that, I think is what you
they
mean.
could go to that topic and they could find an answer to that question.
And I think the elementary teachers can speak. For the first time, I literally printed out 3-ring binders with every single resource, with every single lesson for the first time ever, and handed them a curriculum. So imagine being a new teacher and coming into our district. And I remember when I started here, somebody handed me a textbook and said, figure it out. We didn't have a written curriculum, and that's unfair to do to a new teacher. It's unfair to do to a veteran teacher. So we're cleaning it up, yeah.
Now, did we get way behind on textbooks when we went to the iPads? Because then we were doing, if I remember right, we wouldn't buy textbooks because they were all available online, and they were supposedly buying subscriptions to that.
So textbooks companies have figured this out, and they charge you every bit as much for an online version as they do for a hard copy of it. So that's not the case. I really do think that our priority was on shiny things like innovative learning, and that's all wonderful things, project-based learning and standards-based learning. But if you don't have a strong foundation of learning, everything that you try to build on top of that just kind of falls apart. So I am looking forward to when I can sit down with you guys and say our foundation is done, we're ready to look at alternative ways for a kid to get a high school diploma or different things moving forward. So we will get to that point, but it literally is undoing a lot of the things that we've gone through. I love this stuff and I'm so excited about it. I'm just really, really proud of the people that have gotten behind us on behalf of their kids, the administrators and the instructional coaches. I'm telling you, they have worked so hard on this.
Any other? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Troy, second. Darren was first, if you didn't catch that. Does anybody else have any further questions?
Thank you.
It's fun. I love it.
Thus is why you earned a trip to Spain.
Thank you. I may go again next year.
Go in the summer.
Okay.
All right, we have a first and a second. No further questions. All those in favor? And that passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Next up is our building improvement plans, and first up is Dr. Katie.
For those of you just joining from home, I'm Dr. Katie Andreessen, and I am the principal at the Early Childhood Center. I did want to tell you guys that received gifts. There's a picture frame in there. Our teachers are going to start reaching out to you guys if they haven't already to come read. I know some of you have signed up, so I gave you a picture frame to put your picture in with the class, and then you have some really nice items that if you feel stressed, I know as a board you have a big job, that maybe you can have the little fun with some fidgets there. Again, this is my 6th year in the district, and when I was hired here, I was hired to be Jill's assistant principal. 2 weeks later, I found out I was also in charge of the Early Childhood Center. Thank you, Dr. Tomlinson. At that time, we didn't really have any curriculum. We didn't have any framework. I called it the Wild Wild West over there because there just wasn't really anything in place that gave us a good foundation, as Dr. Miller is talking about. So since that time, we've been working on our curriculum and instruction, our effective teaching. And one way that we have done that that's easy for me to explain is we are now working with KCRPDC, the Regional Professional Development Council. And we're not only working on our behavior framework, which we're doing as a district, but we're also working on our collaborative teaming and data teaming with KCRPDC. So if you look at the plan, you see a lot of that in there. It's a nice way to get some free professional development and free support through their DCI process. And we're just going to start now with our committees. And now that we have committees of teachers who can lead, we're going to continue building our curriculum. Our curriculum is play-based, so it's not like you can just pick it up and read it and know what's going on. But we're trying to find the best way possible to be able to communicate our curriculum with all the stakeholders that we have. With our effective teaching and learning, Dr. Miller brought in Tiger Walks, and I am a huge fan of Tiger Walks. Tiger Walks are when the teachers go visit other teachers' classrooms, and I had my teachers pick where they wanted to go, what they wanted to see, what they thought they needed to improve on, and they went out, and I've gotten a lot of positive comments about being able to do that within our school. So thank you, Dr. Miller. Collaborative Climate and culture, again, we're a very small school, so we're together a lot. We have 2 teams though, so we're continually working on how do we make a full day team and a half day team a one ECC team. So we're going to continue to work on that. Leadership wise, again, we have teaming this year, so I have all of my teachers are, because there's so few of them, are all in some kind of leadership role. So we're going to continue to roll that out and work on our mission and our vision and continue our growth. We decided as principals to keep it short, so we're not going to do the swimsuit and talent sections. So that wraps up my presentation. Do you have any questions?
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
Any questions for me?
No. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Man, no questions? Dang it. Okay.
Well,
all right, next up is Cornerstone. And I believe she said 2 minutes and 30 seconds and the timer, so guess what? Go.
Thank you. As you know, I'm Jessica Broadbent. I am currently the assistant principal at Cornerstone Elementary and will be the building principal next year for the 2023-2024 school year. This evening, I'd like to share with you an overview of our focuses for the upcoming school years at Cornerstone. As Dr. Miller shared with you, our district continuous school improvement plan is our big driving force behind what we're doing as a district. And this visual is to represent the things that Cornerstone is doing to support those. We have 5 major areas that we'll focus on in the upcoming school years. There's staff culture, student culture, raising our bar, so our standards and our expectations, really buying in some more family engagement opportunities for our students and our families, and developing a strong self-efficacy for students and staff at Cornerstone. Each of these are outlined as a gear, as you see in our visual, and so these gears are going to work together to create a learning environment that is effective for both our students and our staff. However, the speed and intentionality can be adjusted at any time based on our building's needs. Staff culture is always going to be that handle, that crank, because we know that's the forefront of everything that we need to do what we need to do in a building to support students. As we move into the 2023-2024 school year, our focus is going to be on building our staff culture. We're going to establish some strong relationships amongst our staff. We're going to build leaders, and we're going to build relationships with our new administrative team that will be in place. Someone once shared with me that your staff culture sets the ceiling for your student culture. So in order to develop a strong student culture, we have to make sure that we are setting our staff up for success by pouring into them in the upcoming school year. We're going to provide support, we're going to celebrate successes, we're going to dig in and do the hard things when it's really, really hard, and we're going to maintain a clear vision and mission for why we do what we do. Through all of those things, our goal is to continue to develop that staff culture that will then continue to build the great things that will happen at Cornerstone and in district.
Any questions?
I like the colors.
Yes.
Yes. 209. 209. Next up is Elkhorn.
Oh.
So,
hey. Oh.
Hey, so,
Curveball.
Hey. So, Elkhorn isn't on here, but I wanted to speak to the work that Annette has done. As you know, she's retiring, and I wanted to give her a big shout out. Like, she did not leave she didn't abandon her post because she didn't have an assistant principal to pass along all of this goodness like the other buildings did. She actually worked with every other elementary building to make sure that the new principal at Elkhorn would have a solid foundation in the CSIP. I told her not to do a one-pager because I really feel like that's the work of the incoming principal. So, is it Mrs. Harris or
Dr. Harris?
Dr. Harris. When she starts, she will actually present her one-pager to you guys. Really, the whole idea behind the one-pager is that I've told them if you can't speak to what you're doing in 2 minutes or less and identify it on one page, then it is too complicated to talk about and you're too detailed. So I feel like that should be the work of the next principal. But again, wanted to give Annette a shout out because she has done an outstanding job of aligning the Elkhorn plan with the other 2 buildings when she really didn't have to. So she's not here for me to brag on, but I wanted to say thank you to her.
I'm sure she's watching at home.
I'm sure she is too.
Okay, then we'll go to Lewis now.
My name is Jill Comstock, and I'm currently the assistant principal at Lewis Elementary. Next year, I'll take over as principal. And I wanted to start off and take the opportunity to thank everyone on behalf of Lewis Elementary for your support for Proposition Lewis. The buzz in the building the last few days has been awesome, and everyone is so excited to be getting a new building and grateful for the support from the community. So we are ready to embark on our transition to our temporary home at the Early Childhood Center with Dr. Andreessen. So, and we're committed to providing our students with the best learning experience while we're there. So, one of our most important priorities as we transition to the Early Childhood Center is to continue to build what we've started of a collaborative climate and culture. I'm proud of our staff because they see this opportunity they see this transition as an opportunity to grow together and recommit to what we know matters most. So as we focus on building our collaborative climate and culture, we want to really focus on continuing to build those strong relationships between staff and administration. We're also going to focus on our students, and we know that each and every one of our students deserves to have a committed adult that believes relentlessly in their ability to succeed. And so we are going to be very intentional about building those relationships and those connections among our students so that they know that there is someone, more than one person in their corner helping them succeed. We, from there, are going to focus on developing learning environments where our students aren't afraid of productive struggle, that they have grit and perseverance to work through challenges, because we know that that is where the most learning and growth happens. So we want to create learning environments where students are having conversations and they're doing critical thinking, and it's just a regular part of everyday life at Lewis. And we've started working on that, and we're excited to continue that. To do that, we need to continue to build up our teachers so that they are confident that they have the tools to support all of our students academically, behaviorally, socially, and emotionally, because our students come with so many varying needs in all of those different areas. So we're going to work on having the right data sources in place so that we're making informed decisions. We aren't just delivering content, but we are being responsive to the students in our classrooms. As administrators, Mr. Travis and I are going to be working on getting the right systems of support in place for our teachers so that they have the resources, professional development, and tools they need to best support the students. And we're also committed to really focusing on family and community involvement. It's been great to start doing some of the things that we were able to do pre-COVID. Our parent group has done a fantastic job this year of providing lots of opportunities for our families to be in the building. And we're looking forward to having a committee that focuses on family and community involvement so we can continue to have those connections, because we know that with all of us working together, there's nothing going to get in the way of our students, and that's our top priority. So we're excited to work on that, and we're excited for what's ahead of us. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Prepare for your move.
Yes.
The best move of your life.
Twice.
Twice. Next up, middle school.
Hi everybody, I'm Brett Kaufman. I'm the principal at the middle school. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our building school improvement plan. We're starting off with basically with three big things, and that is we're making connections with and improving the connections with our kids, relationships, and we're challenging our kids quite a bit. We started doing that this year, and it's going to continue. Part of this connection that we're doing is we're connecting the content to the real world setting. We're taking our teachers into teams and using those teachers to create individualized assessment and instruction for each of our students. One thing I'd like to brag about is we just got done having the students pick their classes. And one of the things that I saw is we decided to challenge by choice this year when it comes to our Algebra 1 for 8th grade. So 8th grade used to have a choice of taking 8th grade math, 8th grade advanced math, or Algebra 1. So this year we had 25 kids in our Algebra 1 class. Next year, when we challenge by choice, which what we told them is, you have a choice, it's up to you. If you want to take that Algebra 1, you can take it, but I want to see you do really well in it. We had 77 kids pick it, and we went back to the teachers and said, are these the right 77 kids? They said, yeah, all but 4. So we had quite a few kids that are going to make it through that process. So I think it's fantastic that the kids got to step up and try this on their own. Another thing that we're doing is that with our effective teaching and learning, we're moving toward high-impact instruction and high-impact lesson planning that's very engaging to students. We're looking at critical thinking skills, discussion skills, and challenging their thought processes along the way. With collaborative climate and culture, we're working on making very safe places to learn. That's challenging in a middle school setting, but we're working on a lot of issues there. We're challenging the kids with their grit and their self-esteem, and and self-efficacy. One of the things that we ask them about in self-efficacy is, can you have a discussion without getting into an argument? And 31% of our kids said yes. So that kind of
better
tells
than the general population.
Right,
Yes.
right now it is. That's true. But I thought we can work on that, and we'd like to see their self-efficacy come up. So that's something that we'll be working on. And finally, under leadership, we're going to be working with our staff and involving them in decision-making across the board in many different committees. Career Ladder's helping us with that because it's honoring the time, the commitment that it takes to make those critical decisions for the school. But also, we are really going to be working our communication and getting out there, getting our message out. I think people are really excited about that part. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is high school.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Wickham, the incoming principal at the high school, and I'm really grateful that I was able to be part of this process this spring. Dr. Everett, Dr. Miller were super helpful, but it's also given me a really great opportunity to work with the assistant principal team and the faculty to really understand more about the building, the great things that are in place, and things that people are excited about for the future. So just want to share a couple of the kind of big rocks that we're going to focus on moving forward. Under the curriculum and assessment umbrella, really thinking about college and career readiness, and are the knowledge and skills that students work on in their courses really preparing them for that next step after high school and ensuring that they have as many doors open to them as possible, and really making sure that our students know all of the options that are available to them after high school. Also with curriculum and assessment, really thinking about that collaborative culture and ensuring that we have a really robust professional learning communities in place for our staff. There's a lot of awesome work that's happened with curriculum, and that's evident in the district, but we want to make sure that our teachers feel like that's not just a document that's in place, but it's actually a tool that's part of their collaboration, and that they have opportunities to really dig into that and assess it on an ongoing basis. With effective teaching and learning, really thinking about how do we make sure that all of our educators, whether you're a first-year teacher, you're a counselor, you're an experienced teacher, you're an administrator, that you feel competent and equipped to do your role well. So what does our ongoing professional development look like? How familiar are our staff with high-impact practices that are really going to make the most difference for our kids? Also within that, really thinking about just the learning environments. How do we make sure that school is a really positive place for our students, that they feel purposeful in their learning, and that they feel that not only from the teachers, but also from one another. Kids are, especially at the high school level, a really big part of creating that environment for one another. And then really looking at our student growth outcomes. So do our students feel like they've got skin in the game with what they're trying to learn, and that, you know, no matter where you are, we're going to meet you there and help you grow in your skill sets. I had an opportunity to meet with staff yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about how do we ensure every kid grows at least a year's worth of growth in a year's time, hopefully a lot more, but do we have the strategies to make that happen? Within that collaborative climate and culture component, it's really thinking about the needs of our kids, and do we have the tools in our toolbox to be responsive to their needs, support their academic, emotional, behavioral, social needs. All of those impact the learning that can happen in the classroom. Do we have that inclusive and supportive culture where every student knows that they have a trusted adult that they can count on, that they matter, that they're seen? That's always an ongoing area of emphasis in any school, but especially in a high school, I think. And again, that climate and culture of growth. So if we're going to say we're going to meet you where you're at, we're going to pick you up when you make mistakes, is that reflected in our beliefs, our attitudes, and our practices and policies? So just continuing to work on that. And then the last area would be under leadership, really looking at our communication. Do we have the effective internal and external communication that helps all of our stakeholders feel informed, feel involved? That's important for our staff and students to feel in the know, our parents, but I also think that's a great recruitment tool for our district when potential candidates can figure out what we're about through our communication. I think that's a great way to sell what we're doing and what's happening here. And then lastly, looking at leadership development for our students and our staff. So do our kids feel like they have opportunities to be involved, to step up, to feel ownership in their school and really learn some of those skills that are going to be timeless and help them look back and be like, because of this at Excelsior Springs High School, I'm now doing these things and I have the skills to be successful. Excited to get started in the fall and really dig in with the staff on strategies and ideas to make all of this come to life. There's a lot of great work that I feel like we're just getting started with, but appreciate the opportunity to be part of the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, don't worry, we saved the best for last.
Yeah. I stayed between you guys and going home.
So that means we
we still got more stuff.
So what's next then?
I'm just gonna say, mine's real quick. I'm gonna say ditto.
Ditto.
We're all good. I would say the main, just kind of piggybacking on like all of them talked about. Big thing for us, a big focus area for us is developing those capable learners and capable skilled learners as well. Developing that self-efficacy that you heard Dr. Kaufman and Dr. Wiggum talk about. For us, it looks a little bit different as far as expectations and what were like measures of success. I would say the big thing for us, the big things that you would see that we're being successful if we're sticking to our plan, and then we look down the road in 2031, we can say, hey, we've made it. A couple of things. One, how are our partnerships with our sending schools and our stakeholders? So we rely a lot of our stuff relies on networking. We don't have a set curriculum per se from the state. We really rely heavily on our advisory boards to kind of give us guidance on what is needed and what is seen at the industry level. And that's what we're trying to do, is produce kids that are ready to enter the industry. And so for us, it really is dependent on, hey, we have the right things that we're preparing our kids for? Do we have the right equipment? Are we teaching them the right things? Do they have the right processes in place? So that's what looks a little bit different for us. Again, for effective teaching and learning, I would say the biggest thing, like everyone says, we can all do better. And for us, all of our people come from industry. They don't come from the traditional teaching background. So again, for us, that's a really big thing as far as making sure they get the proper training they need, those strategies that they can be successful in teaching in their classrooms. And a lot of it looks a little bit like regular professional development. A lot of that too is just collaborations, working out, reaching out to other instructors in their fields, providing that time and opportunity to collaborate and kind of share ideas and decide what's working and what's not working. Again, I would rely heavily on leveraging our advisory boards. I think there's a lot of things that, when you get in the moment, you're in the lesson, you're doing things and you're trying to get kids ready, sometimes we forget, we think we know what's best, and we got to rely on our experts to kind of tell us hey, this is what you need to be working on, this is what we're seeing. And as far as also too, you guys all know, we have a great community. We have people that are always willing to help. And I think that's the one thing I've learned on this job is, again, it's just been even more so for me, is like how many people are willing to help or provide resources or opportunities for our kids to go out and do their internships. And then lastly, for leadership, I think one of the things that when I talk with sending schools and stakeholders about is just finding ways to be more effective in how we're communicating with people. So it's ever changing, there's all kinds of people like Facebook, some people like newsletters, some people like emails. So trying to find that right balance of what's going to get our word out, what's going to get our message out the best. And then for the other last thing for me for leadership is continually looking for ways to find different funding mechanisms for program expansion. So obviously been working with grants, but obviously looking for other ways too. Are there partnerships that we can partner up with businesses or entities that we can offer program expansion as well? So Again, very similar to all the other buildings. I think we're definitely headed in the right direction. I feel like for the first time in a while, it seems like we're all pulling in the same direction for all K-12, so that's exciting for me, and it's kind of nice to see because we're kind of in for a lot of the kids, so it's kind of nice to see their hard work paying off with us, and that's what the goal is. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next up, approval of Fund 4 expenditures. Dr. Tomlinson.
Well, as we discussed, or go ahead and just really put this in front of you guys, I would like to redo that high school weight room. Hasn't been touched in 20 years. It needs it. And I'd like permission to spend up to $400,000 to modernize that.
So moved.
Second.
First by Troy, second by Darren. Questions, comments?
I think, yeah, it needs it so bad. I'm glad we're able to do at least that.
All right, all those in favor? And that passes 6-0.
And then secondly, I would like to ask the board for your approval to spend, it'll actually be spending $800,000 potentially on the Career Center, with $400,000 of that coming back in a grant. So really in the budget will be $400,000 of expenditure as a net. I'd ask for that leeway so that we can always put it in the budget for next year, and then Mr. Ruby and I can work on figuring out what we can do to maximize the impact of that.
So moved.
Second by Darren, second by Rick. Sorry, Jim. He was right there. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? And that passes 6-0. 5-minute break.
You need that long?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there, before we motion to adjourn, does anybody need a break, or you want to just go right on and take 2 minutes for Lisa to change some stuff?
Sounds good.
Good. All right. We're going to take a 2-minute break after we motion to adjourn before we come back in to start our new board year. So at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn Sendine 2223.
So moved.
First by Troy.
Second.
Second by Jill.
Get
All those in favor?
Get it. Roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call. Jill.
Yes.
Troy.
Yes.
Darren.
Yes, sir.
Rick.
Yes.
Kenny.
Yes.
Myself, yes. I did hear from Kaylin, her grandma slipped and fell, and she had her in the hospital, so that's why she wasn't here. She thought she called and left us a message, but she didn't. But that's okay. So everybody's good. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. 2-minute recess. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
And you're welcome to stay for the next meeting. It's going to be awesome.
It'll be meritorious. Boom! Yes.
No. We're running behind.
Broadband. Oh, I was just kidding. This has been laying here for a year.
Oh,
I was serious. You can have that one again. I would have this one if you're. But yeah, make sure we get. It's been. I think.
We have a board meeting.
Yeah. I don't know if I brought it in. I forgot to give everybody and I said it here. Yeah. There used to be a full page.
Are we doing gowns again this year? Are we sticking with that?
Yeah,
We're back. I don't know. We're back into the gymnasium again?
Yes. One for Kaylin.
Trey, these are, here's an extra and here's
It's mine and Kaylin's.
Yeah, you guys weren't supposed to get them.
You can go. I was right.
She already took stuff out that she wanted.
I was ready. I had a
life away. You have to join the military again.
Oh boy. I wouldn't pass.
But I'm going to pass the word on to Mark.
Okay.
No, what?
If I'm ever presented with the award, I'm passing it on to you.
That'll be like my third time.
I actually received an
It's on
official
my door
recommendation
right now.
tonight that thing be placed on Miller's door. And I said,
What, the
lucky for you, it
Well,
already
we're
is.
It's getting ready to make the
Can we get that on record?
Yeah.
Where's he at? He's in
It's the traveling
Omaha.
trophy.
He's in charge of the med center in Omaha.
Office?
No, it's
For you, Jill?
National Guard. He's with the Nebraska National Guard.
Yes.
And they didn't.
Who's the educational theorist who's pushing this grid? Because I've heard it.
Do you like that?
No, I don't.
It's
I
the
don't
new
like
word.
any buzzwords.
Reflection.
Yes.
Buzzwords, I don't like that.
get one?
When
There you
Dan,
go.
when we interviewed Dan, it was everybody
I
was
know all of them.
I can give
reflection,
an entire
reflection,
speech and
reflection,
Yes.
reflection.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Reflection.
It was just every interview, reflect, reflect, reflect. It's like,
You know, sometimes you have to give a gritty presentation.
Yes, yes, exactly.
to get a meritorious award. Boom! Oh,
Paper cut.
$1 million in bond payments in the new weapons.
not payment, income.
Think of the bright side, Kenny.
See, that-
At
make this
least
stuff
you don't
up.
have to redo the training. I missed the year. No.
No, you need to do your refresher training.
Oh, the refresher. Oh, I was like the big training.
You
You
have
want
not
jab?
to do yet, but his is.
Oh,
me too.
Oh, I don't care. No, I don't either. I never pounded. Dan always wanted.
He done screwed up.
Cause I know, Lisa, I did a brand new one because I missed the year. So do I still have to do a refresher?
I'll check on it tomorrow.
Because I missed the year when Kaylin came in.
Okay.
So I had to do the full training when Kenny started 3 years ago.
Yours
But-
is just refresher.
Oh no,
Yours is
fine. I
refresher.
just
I think it's
that's
like
it.
the sexual
Oh,
predator. That
I was
kind of
like
stuff
the
that
whole
they
deal. I
passed.
was like, last time it was in the middle of COVID, so we had to do everything on.
Yeah.
Waiting for Lisa to give me the okie dokie.
Yes, I was saying yes.
Oh,
Rock and roll.
I'm sorry, thank you.
yeah, just pound on that.
There's nobody here.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Can I take a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
So
Second.
you didn't read to do that.
Motion by
I know, that's why I wanted to
by
motion.
Troy, second by Trey,
Call for the vote.
and call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, we're raising our hands, sorry.
And that passes 6-0.
Okay, Jill, Darren, and Kenny, if you'll join me down front, we'll swear you in right quick.
Colored markers.
Is everything changed or all the same?
I think it's all the same.
Okay, if you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me the following. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear. I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
And I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
the duties of school director
the duties of school director
in and for the Excelsior Springs 40 School District.
in and for the Excelsior Springs School
Number
40,
County of Clay.
County of Clay,
State of Missouri.
State of Missouri,
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
According to law.
according to law.
Thank you.
Why does it change colors? Welcome back.
Congratulations.
Where'd everybody go?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah. Congratulations.
If you haven't received it, just make sure that you take a look at the school board member ethics list. Hopefully you have those, sign those, or return those to Lisa. I just want to go ahead and skim through a couple of these things just to reinforce, not only with everybody on the board, but also our cabinet and those people at home, what some of those things are that are the expectations for school board members. And that is, remember, the first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of all students attending the public schools. That's your utmost requirement to be a board member. Obey the laws of Missouri and the United States. Please recognize individual board members have no authority to speak or act for the board. Work with other board members to establish effective board policies. That you delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent. You encourage ongoing communications between board members and stakeholders. And for stakeholders, that's not just people within the school district, that's also within the community. You're really that bridge. You're that representation to make sure that the school district is an accurate reflection of the community and vice versa. Support the employment of staff members based on the qualifications, and maintain a process of regular and systematic assessment of the educational system. So one of the things we're really going to start focusing on is, now that we've come up with what our plans and our goals and our vision are, now we're going to have to assess the success of those things. Are we actually delivering on what we were going to say we do? That really is your responsibility to hold us accountable for what we say we're going to do. And that's what I'm going to ask for you guys to do, is to really make sure that you're taking us to task, that we're either meeting or exceeding all those expectations.
Completed as promised.
Right? Always try to do that. So also to express your personal opinions, but once the board does act, please accept the will of the majority. So I think you guys have always been really good about working together, but it's really important for our kids that our board and our administration, our teachers and our parents all are working together. Just give our kids the best education possible. So you can make sure you have that sign and turn back into Lisa. At this time, I'm going to open up the election of officers. So at this time, I would ask for the president of the board. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Trey Harkins.
Okay, Troy nominates Trey. Anyone else have a nomination? Seeing there are no other nominations, I would ask for a vote to elect Trey Harkins as the president of the Board of Education for the following year. All those in favor? You vote for that? Or is he abstaining?
No, I can vote.
Okay, so 6-0.
I don't get paid.
That's fair. I don't know if you vote for yourself. Seems like a lot, right?
Well, I mean, if you don't vote for yourself, who's going to vote for you?
Everyone else did. We had it going. Okay, how about for vice president? Do we have any nominations to serve as vice president for the Board of Education?
Troy.
I'll nominate Troy.
Rick nominates Troy Snelling. Any other nominations for vice president? Seeing none, I'd ask for a vote for Troy Snelling to serve as the vice president for the Board of Education for the following year. All those in favor? 6-0. Mr. President, I would hand the gavel back to you and your meeting, sir.
All right, we got to, we need to elect a treasurer. That is typically we name the superintendent because that's who does the budget. So do we have a nomination for treasurer?
Nominate Mr. Dr. Thomas.
Under his breath, he nominated Dr. Tomlinson. Do we have any other nominees?
I can yell at the microphone.
Hearing no other nominees, all those in favor of Dr. Tomlinson being our treasurer? And you can't vote for yourself. You have no.
Wait a minute.
I can, you can't.
You're right, fair enough.
That passes 6-0. This time I'd entertain nominees for board secretary.
I would like to nominate Lisa Shelton.
We have a nomination for Lisa Shelton. Any other nominees? Hearing none, all those in favor of Lisa being board secretary? And that passes. We got one down there. Six.
12.
Now we get to appoint an MSBA delegate and an alternate. Darren, would you like to stay the MSBA delegate?
Yes, please.
All right, MSBA delegate is Darren. Any volunteers for the alternate? Or do we give that to Kaylin since she's not here?
Oh,
there you go.
Kaylin. That's how it's worked the last 4 years.
That's always works.
Yes.
It's tradition.
I like it.
Those do not have to be voted on. Those don't have to be voted on. So Darren's our delegate, Kaylin is our alternate. Does anybody have any other business for the new board?
I have one question. How does the board feel about changing the seating up here? If to put the board all the way down here, it's easy. Now that we actually have people coming to board meetings, they cannot see over here, and I think it would be a better visual both for the people at home, but also especially here in the building, if we put the cabinet down this side and had all the board visible. But I would just present that as an option.
We did that once, and I know there's not a lot of back and forth interaction, but I think this opens it up more for, does that make sense? Than it does looking down and.
Yeah, all the way to the end of the.
If I get in a disagreement with whoever's sitting there.
Well, I plan on it.
Does that make sense? I mean, that's just my opinion.
I do know
don't
what
care.
you mean, because I can't see. There's a lot of times you're like,
Yeah,
oh, so-and-so's here.
I
and
almost agree
we
with Dr.
can't see
Thomas because
anybody
I
there,
like seeing the crowd, and I used to be over there. I don't like going over here personally, but
I mean, I don't.
Because I would rather, because normally if we're talking, you were rather talking to the podium.
How about we do next month? We
want to try it?
Put everybody down this way for a couple months. We see what it looks like.
If we don't like it, we can always change.
We can
back.
always tilt the chairs to where they're centered.
Yeah,
with the center of
Or take this wall out.
Yes.
For real.
No.
No, that's not. So why don't we give it a try? See how it works. If we don't like it, we can switch. It's just a
sounds like
it's just
a winner.
nameplates.
It can't be too load bearing. It's only that long.
Well, that's true.
No, let's get off of that. We're going with just the nameplates.
We'll just move nameplates and swivel the desk or the chairs out
Or
there a
just
little
put
bit.
the chairs out. Yeah.
Just to see.
I just can't see them.
And we'll try it. If it doesn't work,
It
we'll
doesn't work. It
adjust.
doesn't work. Okay.
I just don't like it.
Sounds like a winner.
Deal? That was it,
All
sir.
right, that's it. Anyone else? All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. We have a second. Darren's a second. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Have a good night. Miller.